I'm going to moderate this and put a little bit of a vested interest in here in that our company, Custom Communication, is involved in social media monitoring and kind of strategic reports and that type of stuff. So we come at it from very much a journalistic way where you dig around and you look, and we think there's a lot of opportunities there, but there are a lot of limits to it as well. And so what I'm going to ask the panel to do is just introduce yourselves and quickly tell us what the holy grail is of measuring and understanding influence using through social media. Flemming.
Well, I think that...
tell us who you are.
My name is Flemming. I am the founder of Analytica, and we analyze the online debate. And I think that our customers certainly think that the holy grail in terms of social media analysis, to some extent, is to listen to and analyze what's being said online, and then use that to predict the future. And then if you don't like what you're predicting, then you have time to do something about it. And so tell the future so you can, for example, know how many cars you're going to sell 3 months out of a particular model. If you're not on track to meet your targets, then you can do something about it. That's what our customers like about social media.
Matt.
Perfect. I'm Matt. I run a company called Fresh Networks who runs online communities for people. And just as we were hearing, they're a great idea. I agree with that. I think it's great. Holy Grail. I actually think that I use words like transparent too much, so I'm going to sound a bit management consultancy now as well, so apologies in advance for that. I think there are two things about social media. There's the social and the media, and I think people in measurement can get too hung up on measuring the media elements of it. So going back to where the roots of a lot of kind of web activities come, which is around quite hard quantitative measurements you can get. And I think measuring social interactions in terms of influence is as important when you're looking at things, and possibly more difficult. Kind of when we run communities looking at who is the most influential about a brand, it may not be the person that has the most hits on things that they post on the forums, it may not be the person who contributes most, but it's finding that people who within that social network and social hierarchy actually have most influence on other people is tricky, and so it's probably the holy grail.
Chris.
My name is Chris. I work for the Microsoft Online Services Group, so basically hopefully more known as MSN and Windows Live, and I do the European marketing communication, which is just a basic marketing campaigns. But a part of that as well, I do what Neville called earlier on the blogger outreach for MSN and Windows Live. And I'm not sure what the holy grail is, but I would just say, and it's typically a reflection I have at conferences like this many times, is you should just try and measure what you're doing and see different ways, what numbers, quality, quantity, but go out there and try simple things and see what the effect is, and not do it before you're certain that it can all be measured. So a bit different than the notion that was made earlier on. You should only do things when you can measure them. No, you should try and measure them, but you try and see what happens.
Hopefully you haven't forgotten who I am, but Alex from Nielsen Online. I mean, I suppose the holy grail in terms of with the clients that we deal with and so on is I mean, they know that we can measure pretty much most things in regards to social media. I think the holy grail for them is the actionable insight. So it's not just measuring it and, okay, we know this, we've talked about this much, it compares to our competitors this way, it's changed over time. It's the insights, it's the actionable insights about what you can actually do once you have this information to improve your product, your brand or your service. Are there ways that you can tap into the sort of influence paradigm, if you like, in the way that there are certain gatekeepers of communities and so on. I mean, that would be around the area of influence and so on. But ultimately, it's actionable insights. What can we do? Social media tells us this. I mean, Flemming, you mentioned about potential sales and so on, but it's telling us this. What can we actually do as a strategic level to improve from that? How can social media help us improve what we're doing?
I think that's an interesting theme, and over the years as we've done this conversation around influence and measuring what's being said in social media has moved on a little bit, and certainly a while ago it was very much a defensive mechanism. are sort of like, what are those people saying about me, and do we put a paper bag over our heads afterwards? But I think what you guys are all picking up on, and certainly in your presentation, Alex, you talked about, was that this is an opportunity. This is a fantastic opportunity for companies and brands to get the sort of real market research that they just, focus groups probably don't provide in that way. Is this opportunistic, this ability to get something positive out of it, something that you talk a lot about, Fleming?
Absolutely. Our clients, they use social media to listen, and although they like to make these predictions, and that's a very important element of what we do for clients, they also listen to what makes people happy and what makes them unhappy. For example, those people who talked about their mobile phone service in the UK last year, in the first 2 months of the year they talked most about applications, but in April it had all changed to value for money. And in understanding what makes those people who are happy with certain services, what makes them happy, you can use that to improve your overall Marcom activities. So they definitely use it to listen better to consumers.
Matt, your company is about understanding and measuring and looking at what conversation was going on through networks. You talk a little bit about what your insight there.
I don't know if, just have a quick show of hands, everyone who's ever watched a focus group. Put your hands up. I've run them. So brilliant. Focus groups are great, but they're only great for some things, and they're not great for everything. And they're particularly not good when you're trying to get ideas and things you don't actually know what the questions are yet. Because what typically happens is you get 10 people in a room on a wet Wednesday in December, they drink half a glass of warm white wine, and then they're expected to be creative and have ideas about your brand. And you can't expect consumers to be creative and have ideas about your brand on your terms at your time. Online, you can really do this in a much more innovative way. And there's both the going out and seeing what people are saying about you. What issues are people raising? So we're working with a client at the moment in the media business, and they've got one set of viewers, they want a different set of viewers. And the amount of buzz there is about their brand online and about the program we're talking to them about is all from a set of viewers they actually, in the future, don't care about from an ad perspective. So what they want to do is get a bunch of people together who don't normally talk about their brand and see what happens, and give them stimulus, and get them together, find out what they talk about, what kind of things do they enjoy doing, talk around a whole lot of subjects for 3 or 4 months, and then start to feed them with information about the brand. And from a research perspective, this is like a way of doing what you call a deliberative process, which is where you can feed people information, or you can get information from people and then feed it back to them. And it just creates a much richer set of content. As Alex said, it all comes down in the end to what you do with it. And that's, I think, where the crux is.